Hello, welcome back. We're going to take a deeper dive today into an idea that runs throughout A Course in Miracles, and that is that there is no separation of any kind. And in fact, just making that statement is in itself completely 100% sufficient, and we could end our discussion of all of these ideas and all of these principles right there. There is no separation of any kind, any kind. Never has been, is not now, and never will be. And because we find here in the world that we have complicated things a lot, too much, we require further explanation of simple principles of truth because they really are simple. We introduce the complications, and it's not that we're too dense or we're too carried away to recognize the simplicity, really, even though we are carried away. It's that we don't want to. When it comes right down to it, the most responsible adult answer is that we don't want to recognize our oneness, our essential, basic, total, and all-encompassing oneness. We don't want to do that. Now, you may protest right now that, in fact, you do. And if you do, excellent. We appear to be here because we have decided to see ourselves as individuals, like this, cut off from other individuals, separate in many ways, not just separate in space and time, which are separation devices. Therefore, they don't truly exist. Just like this doesn't truly exist, it's not who we are. Yet here in the world that we've made and fashioned, everything appears concrete and solid. And when you bang this thing up against the wall, it's going to hurt, right? So the truth here, the functional, practical truth that we run away from until we're done running away from that, there's a message in that, and until we're done running away from it, the practical truth is that we want right here in the world to see ourselves as cut off and separate, yet it's frustrating and it's painful. And what we really want is the exact opposite of frustration and pain. We, deep down, all of us want the peace of God. And because we've chosen to see ourselves as an ego again and again and again, we don't experience the peace of God. It's available to us. It's always there. In fact, it's all there is. We've simply chosen to run off and hide, and it is a choice. That's part of the adultness of this, the taking responsibility. Now, these statements that we've just made here are just a testament to the fact that spirituality is for grown-ups. It's an adult endeavor, as I'm fond of saying here. It's very, very true, isn't it? Here's the good part. The what I hope you'll find an uplifting and powerful part here is that having made all this, having decided for all of this separation and blame and violence, we can unmake it because it's in our mind. All of this that we see here with the body's eyes and feel the wall that we run up against, so it hurts, all of that, it's in our mind. Having made it, we can unmake it. We can set all of these illusions aside. It's a choice. The ego does not want us to accept that. There have been many times, and we can all remember multiple occasions when we're deeply honest with ourselves, where we've chosen to play the victim of the world we see. People are fond of saying here in the world, well, life's a bitch. This world sucks. It's hard. Things like that. But on the spiritual path, when you're ready to want the peace of God and nothing else, when you're ready to begin to leave this pain and suffering behind, which you are, or you wouldn't be watching this. So if you ever question whether you're ready or not, of course you are. You're here. Because let's face it, there's a lot of other content out there. I mean, really, there is. So here you are, because you're answering this call. Our inner teacher puts out a constant 24/7, all the time, everywhere call to us to awaken. And the question for each and every one of us is, are we listening? And at some point, whether you were consciously aware of it or not, you began to listen. And what you're experiencing now is the happy truth that we can never go back. Oh, yeah. And why would we want to go back to the place where we were suffering so much that we sought a path to peace? Right? Can't go back. And let's all be glad of that. So, what we've got today from the text of A Course in Miracles, chapter 7, section 7, the totality of the kingdom, is where we are. What we've got is reinforcement of the idea that there's never been any separation of any kind. So it's also an invitation for us to realize, to understand that there is no separation, and to accept this idea, to accept our total and complete oneness, to accept that for ourselves. In fact, one of the most powerful prayers that you could ever utter in the study and practice of this course is to ask for help in allowing truth to be just as it is. Let me allow truth to be just as it is. Ask your inner teacher for help. Let me allow truth to be just as it is, because it has always been just the same. Despite all of our mad, delusional wanderings through one illusory lifetime after another that appears to come to an abrupt end at some point, right? But there is no end. There is only perfect oneness. This is what is meant by the extraordinarily simple statement that God is, period. And let's all be happy that we've never left our source. Ideas leave not their source. Another very common refrain from the Course, and therefore from this video series, because it seems to come up every day. For good reason. Ideas leave not their source. You are the thought of God. In case the ego is resisting that, which it is. We're told here that as a practical matter, that what we should do to awaken is to give only honor and appreciation to the Son of God, to our brother. And yes, that means to everyone. Where we keep ourselves separated is in our decision to do something else, to not do that, to keep our little pockets of disdain and hatred for some groups of people while we adore and want to bless others. Well, we can't do it and awaken. To do that, which is a choice, you can certainly do that, but you stay stuck. We stay thinking that we're separate. The love of God is total and it's all encompassing, which is why it's said in A Course in Miracles that forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. We cannot keep little forms of hatred and nastiness for ourselves. In other words, we can't love some people and hate others. Let's use the ever-present example of politics, yes, which I like to bring up because it is completely 100% illustrative of this principle, isn't it? It is totally illustrative of the ego at play, which is at war. And the ego's at play? Yeah. It's not happy play where children get together and share their toys. Oh no, it's all or nothing. It's everybody is either for me or they're against me, with opponents left and right coming to get my toys. Come to find out on the path, there is no opponent. And here in the political arena, we're very fond of doing exactly what the Holy Spirit suggests that we not do. Keep little forms of disdain, little pockets of hatred off to ourselves. Forgive some people, condemn others. Love one party, hate the other. It's a perfect example. And it makes no difference whether you live in a political system that has multiple parties of power and prominence, or two, or even one, right? Whatever the situation is, it's the ego at play, illustrating this principle quite clearly that forgiveness is either total or it's not at all, which means, well, I mean, we've all heard, love thy enemy. There's no enemy, just love. So love the Son of God. Love the Son of God totally and completely. That's what our inner teacher shows us how to do. That's what our inner teacher wants us to do and suggests that we do and guides us to do. And here's an encouraging statement. We're to give only honor to the Son of God because we're not apart from him. We're not apart from our brother. We cannot be apart from him, and we cannot be apart from God. We're all one with God. Ideas leave not their source. Oh, and if you're in the workbook, lesson 124, for example, let me remember I am one with God. One with. We cannot be apart. There is no separation of any kind. So when we engage in the drama that we just talked about with global politics, we create a separation and maintain it in our mind. That's what we do when we love some people, hate others. That means we hate completely. Yeah, which you could see that as not such an encouraging prospect. However, the encouragement comes in from the fact that when we choose to honor and extend only love to the Son of God, singular, everyone, love is total, awakening is total, our reality is total and all encompassing. We have a present moment choice between love or fear. So the simplicity of that statement can be seen in this discussion. So here's the deal. From a practical standpoint, we cannot know our own perfection until we've given love to everybody, the entire Son of God, holding no one out for exemption. When we do that, it's a separation. We're creating a separation. When we hold out the blessings of God and attempt to hoard them and keep them for ourselves, we're separating. So we're not aware of the blessing. How do we keep this in our mind? Share, like we instruct those little kids playing in the sandbox to share their toys. Really, share. We share the love of God to keep it in our mind. We extend love. That is natural. That's what God does. That's what we're instructed also to do. This is how we know that we have the blessing of God, that we are one with God by extending love, God, to everything that lives, everyone, no exceptions, no exceptions. So we can't keep our own little petty grievances. And they are petty, even though they seem really important to us sometimes. They're small, they're nothing when compared to our total oneness and brilliance and joy and abundance and limitlessness as Christ, the Son of God, one with our Creator. When compared with heaven itself, what is a petty little grudge that you're holding against somebody? It's something that if you truly wanted the peace of God and appreciated the power of your own mind, you would let go right now, today, that grievance. Forgive that person right now, today. Honest truth is that when we run amok here in ego land, in the world, we're choosing to keep our little petty grievances and have that and all of that ridiculousness instead of the peace of God. We're choosing very little, just trivialities instead of our own power. And it helps on the path, even if it doesn't feel good right now. I can totally appreciate that. It helps us on the path to see it in this light, which is why our inner teacher shows us this over and over again, because today might be the day where we think, oh, yeah, I'm going to put this grievance away. I'm going to forgive this political party today. I'm going to forgive the government today. I'm going to forgive my neighbor today. I'm going to love my neighbor as myself because my neighbor is myself, capital S. Right? Right. Again, let's hit on the resistance of the ego here. It's tremendous and it appears to be strong. It's nothing. It's a simple decision that we make in the present moment to set the ego aside, yet we find we have to do it multiple times because we're habituated to siding with that, to siding as an individual human being, a self-sustaining survival unit, competing in our things called economic systems for what we deem to be scarce resources and pitting ourselves against one another. Pitting ourselves against our brother who's one with us, therefore pitting ourselves against ourselves. That's some pretty obvious math, isn't it? Yet the ego will have us believe everything but that, anything but that. So we don't have to side with the ego. We could choose right here in the present moment to set that aside. And we have one teacher, paragraph 7, the Holy Spirit, one teacher with a capital T. You may call your inner teacher whatever you like, or you may call your inner teacher by multiple names and refer to your inner teacher as guides, plural, if you want to. It's one. We have one teacher who teaches us the inestimable worth of the Son of God. Inestimable, uncountable, beyond our little convention of numbers, no matter how many zeros we may add to the end of a number. The only math we have to do in A Course in Miracles is one. If we're able to count to one, then that's all that needs to happen. Which, if you struggled in formal classroom math, as I did, trigonometry, oh my God, yeah, didn't go well. So if you're concerned about the math test, all you have to do is count to one, which is quite a relief. The Holy Spirit teaches us the inestimable worth of our brother, and we honor our brother, and we extend love. We extend the miracle of forgiveness. We keep that in our mind. We're forgiving ourselves. So when we condemn and blame, we're condemning and blaming ourselves. There's only one of us. So how could it be otherwise? Yet the ego wants us to believe all kinds of complicated, ridiculous psychodrama. And it's ridiculous when you really allow yourself to think about it. And I know that you're allowing yourself to think about it because you're watching these videos to the end. And for that, I thank you. And it's not just Reverend Tomas Garza that thanks you. I do, but it's your brother. It's every single one of us. When you fully forgive one brother, who are you really, truly forgiving? All of us. There's only one of us, remember? So if you're fond of math beyond the number one, as in exponential curves, here's where we get an exponential boost on the path by allowing ourselves to accept that forgiveness is either total or not at all. So give it totally. And what happens? An exponential curve up and out of the dream, if you want to see it that way. The miracle, as we're taught here in this course, is a device for saving time. Because when we learn a forgiveness lesson, we don't have to repeat it. Time is shortened. In truth, time's an illusion anyway. But while we appear to believe in it here and give it all this credence and buy these things called calendars and have appointments and show up for work on time and things like that, which we should all continue to do. But it's not real, and we don't have to make it real for ourselves. Showing up for work on time is not the same as believing it's real. Showing up and doing it anyway and extending the miracle to the Son of God in the process, every time you remember to do it, is what we should do. These physical bodies appear to exist here because they're communication mechanisms, and we're all invited to give them over to our inner teacher for his purposes. Healing the mind. All right. So as always, there's a lot that we can say from just a few simple statements, but it's imperative that we see the magnitude of miracles. There's no order of difficulty in them. Each is equally as powerful as another. So let's do them, and then we begin to experience this exponential curve, which I promise you, if you've not begun to experience the lifting of the veil, you will, and it keeps you practicing. Let's just say that. Whatever form that may take is going to be between you and your inner teacher. Remember, only the outward form seems to differ. The outward form appears to differ. The content is just the same. The essence is just the same. We are one with God and have always been and always will be. The essence, the content is exactly the same, no matter what the outward form may look like. All right. Thank you, as always, for joining me and for tuning in here. It's very important. I hope you get the importance of your listening to and answering the call. That's wonderful. It's the highest, best thing that you could do in this or any lifetime is listen to the call and answer it and connect with your inner teacher and do as your inner teacher suggests you do and heal the mind. All right. So thank you for joining me. Comments and questions are more than welcome here. So feel welcome to leave them if you've got them. And we'd love to have you join us. The subscription buttons, that red arrow right here in the corner of your screen, I invite you to just go ahead and click on that and join us here. We have several videos a week that are designed to supplement your practice of this material. All right. Questions, if you've got them, please ask them. Join us, and we'll see you soon.